So a student who watches my channel sent me over this problem to my email. So I've decided to show you guys how to solve this in a video. I'm hoping that anyone who is solving problems like this, either on their homeworks or on their practice tests, or even on their official college entrance exams, can watch this video, pick up some skills from it, and then go ahead and apply it in whatever it is that they're doing. Just for you to understand, this could be considered advanced algebra, so that's something to just keep in mind when you are watching this video. Before we get started, just so that everyone knows, technically today is International Teachers Day. So if you have a teacher that you really appreciate, try showing it in some small way, even if it's just by sending a text or a message to let them know that you really appreciate them in their life. I'm sure they'd appreciate that as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. It says 3 polynomials are factored below, but some coefficients and constants are missing. All of the missing values of A, B, C, and D are integers. So before we get started, let's just go ahead and talk about what coefficients are, what constants are, and what integers are, because it's important to understand that math language before we're able to solve a problem. So coefficients are the numbers that come before the variable or the letter. So in this term, the number 4 would be the coefficient. It comes before the x. Constants would come afterwards, so it would be 4x plus 3. 3 would be considered the constant. It's a number that is not attached to a variable, it's by itself. And both the 4 and the 3 are considered integers. Integers are just whole numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So a very simple explanation, but hopefully that helps you to feel more confident when reading and trying to solve these problems. Now let's go ahead and see what they're asking. Honestly, I think what they just want us to do is they want us to take each one of these trinomials and then just break them down into 2 binomials or factor them. So let's go ahead and take the first one. It's x squared minus 6x plus 8. They want us to break it down into 2 parentheses. So and we know that by how the ax plus b and the cx plus d is written into 2 parentheses, 2 binomials. So let's go ahead and break this down or factor it. Well, we start by putting x and x in each one of the parentheses. Then we want to find 2 numbers that multiply to equal the last number, which is 8, but add to equal the middle number, which is negative 6. So what 2 numbers multiply to get 8? 4 times 2 is 8, but we need them to add to negative 6. So if we do negative 4 times negative 2, that still equals positive 8, but now negative 4 plus negative 2 equals negative 6. So the 2 missing values must be negative 4 and negative 2. We've now taken this trinomial and made it into 2 binomials. So we want it to go ahead and match up to this. So we want it to look like ax plus b times cx plus d. Well, if you look at it, there's no coefficient right now. But as you may know, that anytime a letter or a variable is by itself, there's always an invisible 1 in front of it. So you can insert that invisible 1. And now it's written exactly like this. The 1 would be the a, the x's matches up, the b would be negative 4, the 1 would be the c, the x line up, and d would be negative 2. So let's go ahead and fill in our box. So a is 1, so they already have that. B is negative 4, they already have that. C would be equal to 1, they already have that written down. And the only thing we would have to do is fill in what d was equal to, and we found that d is equal to negative 2. So we filled in the first row. Let's go ahead and move forward. So we're going to go ahead and look at the second one. And the second one is 3x to the third power minus 6x squared minus 24x. Now, if you go ahead and you look at how this is factored out, they took out a 3x. So before we are able to figure out what the 2 binomials are, we first have to take out the 3x. How do we do that? We have to divide each part of the trinomial by 3x. And we're going to take our time doing this. We're in no rush. So 3x to the third power divided by 3x. First, you divide the numbers, 3 divided by 3, which is 1. And then you do x to the third power divided by x. X to the third power divided by x to the first power would be equal to x squared. How do I do that? Well, anytime you're dividing exponents, you subtract. 3 minus 1 is equal to 2. So we would be left with 1x squared for the first part. Now let's continue. Now we're going to do negative 6x squared divided by 3x. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. X squared divided by x to the first power, you would just subtract the exponents, 2 minus 1. So it would be x to the first power, or just x. And then negative 24x divided by 3x. Negative 24 divided by 3 is negative 8. And the x divided by x is just equal to 1. So they would end up canceling each other out, and you'd only be left with negative 8. So now we have a trinomial. When we take out 3x, we're left with x squared minus 2x minus 8. But if you look at the answer, it's supposed to be written as two binomials. So we're going to have to go ahead and break down this trinomial into two binomials, the same way we were doing before. So first, we're going to put x and x. That's how we break down x squared. Then we have to find two numbers that multiply to equal this last number. So two numbers that multiply to equal negative 8, but add to equal the middle number, negative 2. And if you're going to go ahead and try 4 times 2, let's go ahead and do that. But because they have to multiply to equal negative 8, let's go ahead and do negative 4 times 2 and negative 4 plus 2. That works out. Negative 4 plus 2 is equal to negative 2. And negative 4 times 2 is equal to negative 8. So negative 4 and positive 2, negative 4 and positive 2 must be the missing values. But again, we want to make sure that we write it the way that they have it written here. Ax plus b, cx plus d. So we want to go ahead and put in our coefficients. Or let's go ahead and put in those invisible ones. And now we have ax plus b. And then we have cx plus d. So a would be 1, b would be negative 4, c would be 1, and d would be 2. So let's go ahead. A would be 1, b would be negative 4, c would be 1, and d would be 2. So we're starting to fill in our box. So we now have the first row and the second row filled in. So let's go ahead and see about filling in this third row. So I'm going to go ahead